Aloha! This is Grandmaster Scott, or Scott with one T, or Scott Conway, PhD, JD, depending upon the level of formality that you prefer. And I'm here to talk to you about the Ohana Way 2.0, the 30th anniversary edition of the Ohana Way in an upcoming class. But, okay, there's something in here I want to share because I think it's important. And I'm going to kind of go out of order here because it will help explain some of what I'm doing. So as part of Ohana, there's this acronym, OHANA, Oasis, Harmony, Assertiveness, Nobility, and Aloha. Part of this is Oasis. And Oasis means be a refreshing refuge. Be someone that people can drop their guard around, that people can be real with, that people don't have to second guess and kind of like try to figure out what you're really up to, what you're really trying to do. And a couple of parts of this includes be a safe person, create a safe place, and to resolve. That means there's a my way and there's a your way. And out of the my way and the your way, we together are going to create this our way. Well, there's a couple of key pieces in here, and part of that is you need to know my way. I need to know your way. And so there needs to be some communication, some listening, some understanding in there. So then we can kind of see where we are, and then we can build an our way together. And that part of be a safe person, create a safe place means that there's this opportunity to be real, to be open, to be honest, and to be safe doing that. And that means that this information isn't going to be used against me. This information isn't going to be used in any way like against my interests or to achieve your agenda. And part of this idea of be a refreshing refuge is that I can relax. I know it'll be better because you're here. And this oasis idea, this part of Ohana and what Ohana is all about was something that I needed earlier this month. Now, I am almost always in the support role. So I'm the one showing up to be Ohana. I'm the one showing up as a refreshing refuge. I'm the one where I walk into the place and people know that, oh, Scott's here, it'll be better. Or if I can talk to Scott, if I can get to the dojo, if I can get to the church, if I can get him on the phone, or if I can get a response from the email, I know that I'll have some answer, I'll have some idea that it will be better. Well, the last time I needed that kind of support was like 12 years ago. And I got it, and it was really good. Something I had forgotten about and I wasn't thinking about until recently is the person who showed up to help 12 years ago was someone I had been training for years. So she was very well versed in Ohana. And this time through, some of the people that showed up to try to help, they weren't that well versed in Ohana. And frankly, they were making the situation worse. That I was in this kind of crisis state where my work, this is part of it, the Ohana way is part of it. Then there's another overlapping, interlocking silo, Guardian Kempo Kajuko Do, and that connects to that too. And then there's this third thing, Quest Xian, and that's kind of, it's my ministry, theology, philosophy part. And they all interlock and they all overlap, and there's a sweet spot in the middle, and just like right there is that spot that all of them come together. And I had gotten hammered hard in like 2 of the silos. All 3 of them were crumbling and falling apart. And when you have your life's work and you have things that you've devoted like decades of your life, 15 years, 30 years, grown up and then been doing for, well, it's all falling apart. That's not just a business thing. That's not just, I need my ministry team, I need my sensei team, I need my business team, and let's go to work. When you're at that level, then you need individual human support and someone who can kind of help me sort and navigate and dive it. But what I ended up with was some very well-meaning people, some great character, good values, done business with them, been friends with them, but they're not Ohana trained. And in particular, right out of the gate, they're violating Oasis. I'm finding out really fast, like, hey, look, I can't be real with you because you won't listen long enough to have any idea what's going on before you are prescribing your solution, your way, that, okay, yeah, maybe in this one silo that might help like click a couple of things together a certain way, but that's going to like rip apart some of the rest of these. It's going to rip one apart from the other two, and it's not helping. And then sometimes being so directive, being so assumptive, I just had to tell some of them to stop. One of them, I actually had to argue with him to get him to stop helping. And it's hard on friends because we're not just business colleagues. We've been personal friends for over a decade. And and I matter to the man, and he matters to me, and we've worked together on like different types of crises before, and when it's a business crisis, when we both show up with our expertise and it's in like this one spot, we are an awesome team. But this was bigger than that. And what I needed to already have in place was ready Ohana, ready to go. And I didn't have it. I didn't have it in the first handful of people who showed. Now, one person who wasn't Ohana trained did do a really good job. So it's not like Ohana is the magic key, and if you're missing that, you're completely lost. This person showed up into my world, and the question there was pretty simple. It's, what would look like support to you? How can I be of service? That was good. That's at least Oasis. Because like, oh, that I can have inserted into it as all the question, what would be help? What would be support? Rather than assumption, well, let me do this, and you need to do that. And if only you would do this and this and this, and if you hadn't done that, that was good. But the people who were the most help were Ohana trained. And part of it is, I am particularly receptive to my own teaching. I'm willing to be called on the carpet about my own teaching. And I was handling a situation at one particular point in time, and one of my own top clients said, like, I don't see the Ohana in that. Can you explain to me how all of that works? Because that doesn't look like what you're teaching. And I was able to explain and bridge the gap, and she, okay, I'm gonna have to see how that plays out. And it played out very well. And after the fact, she goes, okay, all right, now I think I understand. But this position I ended up in, where I needed the Ohana, it really underscored for me how actually rare this is. Now, here's the bizarre, there's a lot of us that do chunks of it. We're often missing some part of it, but some of us do pretty good. Now, here gets to be the problem with some of us that do very well, is if I do a good job at something because of my personality, it's hard for me to teach it as a strategy and to help people build a new habit and get this new insight and be able to come into something with something that's just my personality. It's how I grew up. And if I'm the leader in an organization, I'm trying to get the culture of my group, whether it's a group of friends or whether it's a business group or whether it's my downline, to develop this kind of culture for each other. If I don't have the vocabulary to effectively communicate it, my ability to kind of diagnose the problems and to build a thing is going to end up being limited. And so what I would like to do coming through on this time is, I want to make Ohana more accessible, at least this one time through. I know from a business standpoint, I really shouldn't do this, but I think I'm going to do it anyway. So have a listen to this. decide if you're interested. And we'll figure out the rest from there. But the Ohana Way 2.0. The Ohana Way 2.0 is based upon how I grew up with my mother, Ohana, O-H-A-N-A. The Ohana Way 2.0 is the topic of 3 of my books, the Ohana Way Fundamentals, the Ohana Way 2.0 30th Anniversary Edition, and the Discover Ohana Workbook. All of these are 30th anniversary. And so they've been newly updated and expanded, and it is quite a study. Now, aside from the story I just told of my own personal experience and my need for having Ohana at the ready, already Ohana, there's a story of how Ohana came to the attention of the broader business community. I vacation in Las Vegas a lot, and I'll often go for 2 weeks at a time. On this one particular 2-week trip a few years ago, I was out on this fabulous date. I'm out with this lovely young lady who we were having a good enough time. Wasn't quite good enough to follow up and continue, but it was a nice evening at the Lake of Dreams at the Wynn Resort, enjoying a Las Vegas evening. And because it was a first date, we didn't already have an existing friendship. We were just kind of barely getting to know each other. That the phone goes in the pocket and does not come out for the entire date. So I am walking to my car at the end of the date after having said my goodbyes. And I've got 13 points of contact coming from someone who's in San Diego. And rather than check all the messages and give them a call back, I decided to read the messages and listen to the voicemail, I just call them right back and find out a car has crashed into my business. Now, like, look at this picture. Where did that car come from? I mean, doesn't it look like it drove out from somewhere inside? But it somehow managed to power slide all the way through, destroyed the entire storefront, wiped out the parent lounge, wiped out the kid lounge, wiped out the pro shop. It was a mess. Now I'm out of town. And after this big crash, someone from across the street called one of my people, and that person showed up and found this. Well, some of this goes up on social media and people are contacting me. I make one phone call, by the way, just to delegate authority, not to get help, just to say, okay, you're in charge. Any decision you make, I'll back you up. And it's one of the Ohana style of leadership is you just use your own good judgment and I will back you up, and we will talk about how if this comes up again in the future, how to maybe make that decision a little bit differently. But I will 100% back up a leader who exercises reasonable discretion to make a reasonable decision, whether it's the way I would do it or not. And so we're tackling this. And then I ended up getting phone calls and messages like, oh my God, I saw what happened. I'm so sorry, I had to cut your vacation short. My friends in Las Vegas saying, oh yeah, I saw what happened. Totally understand you have to cancel your meeting. You had to cancel your lunch or cancel our time together. We'll see you next time. I said, no, I'm still here. I'm on vacation. Well, why? Wait, didn't a car crash into your business? And yeah, it's okay. My clients have it covered because my clients cleaned up. My clients boarded the place up. My clients got the place all handled, and I didn't have to come back. And in fact, in particular, 3 of them said, don't come back. Stay on vacation. We've got this. One of them went so far as saying, don't you dare come back. We will be offended because we've got this. You stay on vacation. That's Ohana. That's when Ohana comes through for you at a high stakes moment. And in those moments, you better already have those relationships because that is not the time to try to build them. The other way for me to have gotten that done would be to be writing a bunch of checks to a bunch of professionals that I have to get on the phone and pay money to go handle this. This was family showing up, not blood relatives, but my clients I have a relationship with. that showed up and they took care of this. So this idea of Ohana, and I've already mentioned Oasis. So do this exercise with me. Let's do this together. Because this is how I feel a lot. I feel armored up. Because there's a lot of stuff going on. And especially these days, there's so much coming at you that you got to be on your guard. You got to be in it. You got to protect your mind, protect your heart. Because just you have to deal with that vast space of everything. And after a day spent armored, that helmet that felt so protective when you put it on, it's now this heavy weight on your neck. And your shoulders ache from holding the shield, and your back hurts from the uneven weight on it all day. And your grip on that sword, that felt so light and easy to move when you started the day, now your forearm burns. And your hands are cramping and feel like they can't let go. And the day finally ends, and you're exhausted. You're finally out of the fight, able to rest at last. And now you can take off the helmet, the protection for your head, but for your mind, your thinking, your sight, your hearing, because finally you have no enemies here. It's hard to peel your fingers free from your grip on the sword, but you do, and put it down. Your other arm is too tired to even try to set the shield down, so you just drop your arm, sort of shake it off until the shield finally slips down and clatters to the ground. You remove your breastplate and take the longest, deepest breath you've had all day. You feel your ribs stretch out as you're able to really breathe again. You take off the last pieces of your armor and relax, safe at last in your oasis. Oasis, be a refreshing refuge. Be a person where others can drop their guard, where others can drop their armor because they know they are safe with you. Now in the slide it says, I'll come back to this soon, but I began with where that's going so that you understand. Ohana means family, and think of Ohana as everything positive family is supposed to be. Whether your actual family is like that or not, that Ohana is what we wish family was. And family means no one gets left behind or forgotten. And that's from Lilo and Stitch 2002, if that sounds familiar. And Ohana is an acronym, O-H-A-N-A. Oasis, harmony, assertiveness, nobility, and aloha. And I'm going to just touch on each one of these. Oasis, be a refreshing refuge. Now you've already seen this list. There's a thing called the Ohana 5. The Ohana 5 is Oasis, harmony, assertiveness, nobility, and aloha. And you'll find that in Ohana fundamentals. The 5x5 means underneath each one of the 5, there are 5 other traits. Under Oasis, be a refreshing refuge. Those traits include to leave no trace, better than you found it. That because I show up, it won't be worse. If it changes, it'll change for the better. That's part of what I needed. I needed people who were a refreshing refuge. I needed people who could show up into this mess, this crisis time, and at least not make it worse. So showing up and saying, what would support look like for you? At least doesn't make it worse. And whose presence reliably will leave it better than they found it. And some tried, but they tried based upon their own agenda. They tried based upon their definitions of outcomes. They didn't do number 2, be a safe person, create a safe place. That there wasn't that safety to share with openness and honesty, the realities of this entire 3-silo whole life mess. Number 3 is to give to givers who give. And the full quote there is, give to givers who give to takers only long enough to determine that they are takers, and then quietly sift them out of your life. And all that means is if you have these relationships where it's like you're always giving and they're always taking, it's gotten very asymmetrical, is you don't need to get rid of the human being. Well, not all the time, sometimes you may. What you're doing is you're trying to get rid of that taker element of the relationship, so it can be a little less uneven. Number 4 is win-win or no deal. And now this is part of when you and I are working with each other. Here's part of the thing. I'm not going to come in where I'm trying to win at your expense. I'm also not willing to do a deal where I win and you lose any more than I'll do a deal where you win and I lose. If we can't figure out a way that neither one of us loses and both of us wins, we're just not going to do a deal. Now that can mean that the relationship stays in one place. It could be, for instance, that we can't figure out a way to engage in this deal together. All right, well, we're just not going to do that business together. Maybe in this business, we can do a good win-win deal, or sometimes we can have a great win-win friendship. Can't really work out a equitable way to do business together, or an equitable way to work together. Sometimes we can work together great, but while we have professional respect and admiration for one another, sometimes the personal connections can mismatch. So sometimes it's just a matter of like, where does the relationship land? And then that number 5 that I already talked about, that resolve, there's a my way and there's a your way. And now that we're going to create an our way. Now here's the most powerful our way, is the higher third alternative. That there becomes something in the dynamic between you and I, where you bring your genius, I bring my genius, you bring your unique power, I bring my own unique power, and we synergize this together. We build this amazing thing that is new, it's different, it's more than either one of us could do alone. If resolution of creating that new, higher, our way doesn't seem reasonably possible under the circumstances, the next level is to concede, the trade wins. And that's like, and it's not a win-lose, it's you get a win, and then sometimes I get a win, and we kind of work it back and forth. That can end up a little transactional, more relational, as I give you the wins that are the most important to you, you give me the wins that are the most important to me. And then compromise is you win some, you lose some, you kind of like even it out. You know, I want 0, you want 10, we settle on 5. You know, you want to go left, I want to go right, so we go straight. You know, but there's various ways. Compromise is partial wins, and sometimes compromise is partial loses. That it is a way to get to the end of a conflict. It's not as preferred as resolution or an ongoing relationship trading concessions. So that's Oasis. Well, of course, we said there's Oasis, harmony, assertiveness, nobility, aloha. So that's Oasis, be a refreshing refuge. And the next one is harmony. infinite diversity and infinite combinations aimed at greatness. And that just means we don't have to be alike to be together. In fact, a football team of nothing but quarterbacks, not going to be a good football team. A football team with nothing but goalies, not going to be a good football team, depending whether you're doing American football or you're doing the rest of the world football. So harmony, infinite diversity, and infinite combination aimed at greatness, of course, has its 5 by 5. And it is just be polite. More for, less against. Focus on what you do want. Facet truths, bring truth appropriate to the relationship. And a couple of closely related key ones is that differences are issues to navigate, not causes for condemnation. And bad things are problems to solve, not causes for condemnation. Both of which would be really handy in political season. Then we have assertiveness. So far we have oasis, harmony, assertiveness, moving forward on purpose with respect for others. So part of this means you have to know what forward is. Now, it's entirely possible you and I could both be being assertive and we just have different forwards. It could be that our value set is a little different, and so our larger purpose is different. Hopefully, though, our intentionality is the same and our respect for others is the same. But assertiveness means you know what the forward is, and you know what your purpose is, and you move in that direction with respect for the people around you. So the 5 by 5 here includes this incredibly powerful and universal principle is I have a point. You may also have a point. We do things our way for our reasons. Other people do things their way for their reasons. I use that one in martial arts a lot. My martial arts style really works. Other martial arts styles also really work. And yet we do things differently because we do things our way for our reasons. They do things their way for their reasons. And that's part of the I have a point. You may also have a point. And personally, I believe it's a little arrogant to assume someone else has no point unless and until you have inquired about their position and how they support their position. Number 2, more yes and, less no but. Number 3, define your win. What are the values? What are the goals? What are your roles? All those things will affect what your win means. And create a compelling future. Something that inspires you. That's part of your forward. Your forward is the defined win, that compelling future. And then the choose, plan, check in. That's these 3 questions. What do you choose? What is your plan? How is that working out for you? And this last one, the ecology check. Is it good for me? Is it good for me? Is it good for others? Especially the important stakeholders in my world. And is it good for the world? Is it good for the larger group? And then we have nobility. So far we have oasis, harmony, assertiveness, and now nobility. Be our highest and best self. In case you're wondering who that is a picture of, that's King Kamehameha. Picture taken from Honolulu, Hawaii. The 5 by 5 here is inspired action from emotional insight. And I want to touch on this a little bit more. Because emotional insight means that emotion is a language. You have positive emotions, you have negative emotions. A negative emotion is just an emotion that gives you information about a negative situation. What I call negative emotions or emotions of change. It's information about a negative situation that something inside of you interprets as that must change. So that's what a negative emotion is. Positive emotions are emotions of duplication. That just means like, I like that. Can we have more? Can we do that again? And when you understand the language of emotions, that anger means there's a broken rule. Well, how do I think things were supposed to be? Why am I messed on that I'm angry when it doesn't happen? And there's the self-protection reaction. And for anger, it's impose rule by force. Then fear means something's coming, I'm not ready. What's coming? Is it really coming? How am I interpreting it? Am I ready? What does ready look like? And sometimes, by the way, you have to do what's scared. You go, yeah, okay, yeah, that's coming. I'm as ready as I can be, but I don't know if I'm really ready because I'm just not sure. Well, then I need courage. And that's, I feel fear. I'm going anyway. But yes, something's coming. I don't know 100% for sure how ready I am, but I'm going anyway, even though I don't know the outcome, and that's courage. And the more you understand these emotions, the more you go like, oh, I feel overwhelmed. Great. Pause, catch your breath, take a look, prioritize, see what you can get rid of. Do you need help? How much help do you need? What kind of help do you need? How can you get the help? And then if you take a step back and you look at it, and how can I try to minimize how often this keeps on happening to me? So the more you understand the language of emotions, the more you can take that inspired action, that you can conduct yourself centered and grounded in your highest and best self, because so often we get derailed by these emotions that are trying to give us important information. But if we don't understand the message, it's hard to take the properly inspired action. 5 by 5, number 2, be a light, not a judge. Being a judge means you've decided someone's bad, and to expand judgment to condemnation, you've decided that someone is worthless or even just worth less than you. But be a light means rather than tell them, I'm right, you're wrong, you're bad, I'm good, it's, here's something I see that I don't know if you see. Being a light means that you shed some light and you let them come to their own conclusions. Self-leadership and 360-degree leadership are linked. In fact, self-leadership is one of the directions of 360-degree leadership. That's me leading me. Couple of quick elements here. One is the leadership part is making good decisions. Then there's the submission part of now I've got the good decision. Can I now submit to the good decision? Can I submit to my own good decision? Because if I can't get me to do what me thinks me should do, when me agrees with me, does it seem like it might be a little more challenging to get other people to do what I think they should do, even if they disagree with me? Because when I'm doing that, I'm not leading from authenticity and influence. I'm leading from authority. I better have the power. I better have some leverage. But in Ohana leadership, I lead me, and that flows into that 360-degree leadership. Number 5 is living by a code. And in that section, we talk about modern notions of ladies and gentlemen. We talk about modern variations on classic chivalry. And I'm a martial artist, Japanese ancestry. Probably not a surprise, we also talk about Bushido. It's a code of the samurai. And now, aloha. So running through the entire 5 by 5, we have Ohana, which includes oasis, harmony, assertiveness, nobility, and now aloha, love in its many forms and manifestations. And I give this simple 3-part definition of love. I use this in my other love programs and my relationship programs. It's 1, I want the best for you. 2, I want to be the best for you. And 3, I want you to have transcendent joy. And these are compass headings. That means that there is no final place. Like, this is the best, and there'll never ever be anything more best, more suited, because as things change, and then what becomes best for you may change. And some of this can be a simple, here's a business version. You're looking for a lawyer. One of the hats I wear is I'm a lawyer. But you're looking for a lawyer that needs to be a specialist in something that's not my specialty. I might know a little bit about it. I might be able to point you in the right direction, but the complexity of what you're looking at is beyond my expertise. Well, if I want the best for you, I want you to have a good, capable, competent lawyer. And I want to be the best for you. Well, I'm not going to become that lawyer. So being the best for you is I'm the one that refers you to someone better. That wanting to be the best for you includes being not your lawyer on that thing. And part of it has to do with loving someone more than you want them. To want the best for your prospect more than you want them to be your client. So that's part of aloha. And if you know you can trust me, that I want what's best for you, and that I would rather not have you as my client and point you toward the person who will help you with the particular thing you need to do, then you know you can trust my recommendation. And that's part of being Ohana. So the 5x5 for Ohana, there's a love stack, agape, phileo, eros. There's this whole list of what love is and what love is not. And sometimes people mix those up a bit. So it's important to make those distinctions. Then you have this whole concept called the phileo bank account, positive on purpose. A key principle there is negative is 4 times more powerful than positive. So that means it takes 4 points of fixing to fix 1 point of breaking. And there's some important principles in that idea. The love, joy, peace, God, people, self has to do with the spirituality of the aloha spirit. And then this 5th thing, 100 ways to win. This Yori concept. Yori stands for you, others, relationship, intimacy. That when there's a challenge with someone else, the first place you look is you. So if I'm having a challenge with you, I need to pause and okay, I need to take a look at myself. Then I need to take a look at other people, which means I need to understand you. I need to look at the nature of our relationship. What, like, do we have a relative role thing going on? Where are my responsibilities? And then there's that intimacy element. And then do you and I know each other and connect this human being to human being? Do we know things and see things and connect kind of behind the roles, behind the label of the relationship? And the 100 ways to win is there's this entire matrix where I call it 100 ways to win, but there's really a lot more than that. Right? Okay, what is the entry point to make to most show love, to most be Ohana, to connect with the person, to make a positive difference? Ohana. O-H-A-N-A. Ohana. Oasis. Harmony. Assertiveness. Nobility. And aloha. And then there's a principle, and you find this even in a short book called Ohana 101. This is hero, villain, victim. If you take this one idea out of this quick video, this can be transformational. So take a look. This idea of the hero and the villain and the victim. Whenever a problem arises, damage is being done. It's the nature of problems. Problems must be solved or damage will be done. The hero is the one who makes it better. The villain is the one who makes it worse. And the victim is the one for whom it is made worse. I'm going to stop the share for a moment because okay, this is important. Suppose you and I have a problem. Something's come up. And let's even assume you did something and damage is occurring as a result. And so I show up and we've got like an hour to talk, and I spend the first half hour arguing with you that I'm the victim, or my business is the victim, or other people are the victim, and you're the villain. You made it worse. You did this. This is your fault. And you may even start off defending stuff like, look, can we just make it better? What can we do to fix it? And says, well, you need to know that you're bad and you're worthless, and how could you? And you're supposed to be this, and you're supposed to be that. And I spend the whole first half hour arguing that you're the villain. Okay, first off, how would you feel about that? When you think like, boy, I'm glad I had this conversation because this is what I really wanted. If we could have the whole thing about how bad I am, and then that's all we accomplished is, yeah, I'm the villain, I'm the bad person, I'm the one who messed up, and we end it there, that would be awesome. Or if you show up and you really want to make it better, then all this time I'm just arguing that you're the villain, when what I even really want is I want you to be the hero. I want your help making it better. In which case, if I want you to be the hero, why in the world would I spend half an hour arguing that you're the villain? Now, here gets to be one of the things. Now, suppose I just did that. How excited are you about dealing with me next time? How excited are you about me finding out that maybe you made a mistake next time? You can see all the dynamics that start to show up with that. But in particular, if then I turn right around to recruit you to be the hero, it's like, why was I compelled to spend that whole chunk of time to convince you you're in this role when what I really want is for you to be in this other role? Shouldn't I have just started over there? I'm like, okay, there is this problem. It's doing damage. How can we work together to fix this? And open with you as a hero. Now, if there's a problem and you come to me, and rather than spend half an hour berating you, we open with, okay, well, thank you for coming. How can you and I team up to work together to resolve this issue? What's going on? What damage is being done? And I started to treat you like you're an ally, like you are my partner in solving the problem. And the sooner you come to me with the problem, the faster we can team up and overcome this issue and resolve it and get it all done so the damage stops. Because we're on the same side. Because you know who the villain is? The villain is the problem. You're not the villain, the problem's the villain. Now, here's a simple way you can tell. Okay. If you and I have a relationship, and I was the conduit through which this problem showed up in our relationship, and say I'm working for you, something that I did, it's doing damage. It's doing damage to you personally, it's doing damage to a client, whatever damage is being done. Do you have a problem with me? Maybe. Now, here's the thing. Exact same problem, exact same damage. Take me out, put somebody else in. Is that still an issue? Yeah. Okay. You and me, in relationship, in business, in friendship, as Ohana. Take away the problem. How are we doing? Does that help illustrate that the problem is the villain? You're not the villain. I'm not the villain. You're the hero. I'm the hero. You make it better. I make it better. And when the problem shows up, you and I are a team. And you and I will work together, hero and hero, against the villain that's the problem. And then we win. So that's part of that Ohana 101 idea of hero, villain, victim. The victim is the one for whom it's made worse. Victims sometimes tend to get upset. We understand that. The villain, the one who makes it worse, is the problem. The people are the partners to make it better. Hero to hero, recruiting one another to work together to defeat the villain. That's part of Ohana. The Ohana Way 2.0, the 30th anniversary edition of the Ohana Way. And I've got a course coming up. And I think I'm going to do a, well, no, let me go ahead and do this really quick right now. So I have had this price at $1,997 when it included the live event. I peeled that back $500 during this season of no live events. But after my experience earlier this month where, well, it really showed me how critical it is that we know how to do this, that we can really show up and be the hero and be Ohana. And when I was the person who needed that support, which, you know, I admit it hasn't been true for 12 years, and it's easy to not relate to a place you haven't been for a dozen years. It is, and even if I'd remembered that, I might have forgotten that the person who showed up as help had been Ohana trained for years. I want this time around to make this as accessible as possible. So I'm dropping the price all the way down to $497. Now I understand that I do have some people that $497 is tough. And what I decided to do for those people, if you really can't afford the $497, I'll go $297. Just because I want people to have this, and I do ask you to commit to all 6 classes. Commit to reading the book. Commit to the prep, because I am giving you a scholarship. And if I'm giving you $200, I ask you to put in the work. Now, I also understand it's entirely possible for some people that $297 is hard. If you ask, I'll do a chunk for $97. Same thing, put in the work, commit to the courses, commit to the classes, listen to the replays, really learn it, because now I'm investing $400 extra in your training. Now I also understand, and this is the big stretch for me, that I have some foreign nationals. I have some people in Pakistan, some people in India, some people in Africa and Uganda in particular, I've been hearing from a lot lately. And I don't know how the schedule will work for you, but I will go as low as just a single dollar. If you can pull off $1 US and you will commit to the work, you are invited. Now, as an Ohana request, this is an Ohana move. I'm trusting in your Ohana. But if you show up and ask for the dollar, it's because you will put in the work. And that you have the dollar to invest, but trying to invest 97 US dollars, or that's certainly 497 US dollars, that would be a lot. I will trust you that you will honor the ask and you will put in the work, and that you would not ask for the discount if there was not a need for the discount. But I would rather have my Ugandan friend in here for $1 then not in here for $4.97. And then the Ohana Way 2.0 can now be dropped into the middle of Uganda and can make a difference there. So that's part of my hope. So go ahead and get in touch with me. Some of the information will be below. I'll put my email on the webpage, but it's Scott, S-C-O-T, at Scott, S-C-O-T, with W-I-T-H, the number 1, the letter T.com. And I'll put that on the website, and I'll put that in the description below the video. And if you would like to join us, we are beginning on Tuesday, October 6th, I believe that is. And I'm starting at 3:00 p.m. Central Time, United States of America. And I would love to see you here. Because when the people around you or you have a need for Ohana, if a time arrives where here's the moment of truth, you can't go get ready when that moment of truth arrives. You have to be ready. And I ask you to come join me, to join the Ohana, join the training, and let's do Ohana together. This is Grandmaster Scott, and you're invited.